Hello, everyone. Welcome to the course. You have all joined a very exciting program, that of mobile development. Mobile applications have actually changed the way we live, the way we communicate, the way we do lots of things. So it is indeed a very exciting field that you have ventured into. And there is a lot more to come. There are lots of new developments happening which are going to bring about further change. And this is your opportunity, your chance to take part in those changes. For example, you must have heard about the 5G technology. 5G is coming, which is basically going to provide abilities that so far were very difficult to have on a mobile phone. Higher download speeds, lower latency. Along with 5G, there is a new development happening, which is Internet of Things. More and more devices around us, and we are not speaking just of mobile phones. All kinds of devices are becoming online, and those also run similar infrastructure. So there is scope for development in that field. Not only that, there is a lot of work going on in artificial intelligence and machine learning, which is now making its way to mobile phones. So the mobile apps will become more and more intelligent and allow numerous things to be done more efficiently, perhaps make possible new things that were not possible before. And then there is augmented reality. Augmented reality is when you take what is on the screen and merge it with what is in the real world. And this is being used extensively already in the field of games. So those of you who have played, for example, those games that require you to put on artificial augmented reality glasses, and it looks like you are in that environment, and you can interact with those. So these are all the new things that are happening. And you have ventured into it, and you're going to learn a lot in this whole program and the courses as well. So, in this module, we are going to talk about a few things. I'm going to share my slides here with you. So basically, right now, I just want to introduce you to a few things, the course, the teacher, and the students. I want to basically take some time, give you an overview of what to expect throughout the semester. So first of all, let me tell you a little bit about myself, and then I'll give you an opportunity to introduce yourselves. We'll find a way to do it. About myself, I did my bachelor's and master's degrees from the Indian Institute of Technology in Bombay. For those of you who don't know it, it's one of the premier institutes, not only in India, but in the whole world. And then I went on to do a doctorate, a PhD from the University of Manchester in the UK. And then I worked in the field for a couple of years. And I really enjoyed what I was doing, which was developing software for petrochemical industry. So we were writing very complex software, and I was working as a specialist with that team to develop things like design tools, how to design large-scale chemical plants, petrochemical plants, how to optimize them, how to conserve energy, how to optimize energy usage, all those things. It was a very interesting line of work. And then around 1999, 2000, most of you probably won't know about that, won't remember it from your own experience. The dot-com boom started, and I caught the bug, and I basically decided to quit my job and start an e-learning company. So I'm a co-founder and CEO of an e-learning company since 1999. And then a couple of years ago, I decided that I wanted to be able to engage more with the younger people and to teach. So as a trial, I taught one semester, and then I really liked it. So I am continuing my teaching journey. So basically, I take these courses so that I get to keep in touch with the young and upcoming talent, as well as provide them some guidance from a very practical perspective. So that's a little bit about me. And to start the course off on a fun note, so that we keep the enjoyment balance right, I want you all to hear a story. I want to share a story, a very personal story that happened with me, which is kind of sets a nice context for what we are doing. So the background of the story is that in my first year, that's the year was 1989. I had a computer science course called CS 101. It was the very first introductory course in computer science. And the professor, a very learned professor by the name of Professor Isaacs, he taught us Fortran 77. So think about it. Have any of you heard of this language called Fortran? So Fortran is actually short for formula translation. It was a language created specifically for engineers and people who were working with numbers. So, and 77 is the year, the version number. So Fortran itself is much older than 1977, but the version we were learning was finalized, the spec was created in 1977. Fortran as a language is still around. It is still used by engineers. It has gone through various revisions. It's a lot more powerful and potent today, but the basic philosophy, the way it works, still remains the same. And what we did at that time, the university, this was an era where PCs were starting to become common, but they were not widely available. The most common type of operating system, and actually the most common type of computers in use were mainframe computers. And the one at the IIT Bombay was called CDC mainframe. CDC stands for Control Data Corporation. And this company, Control Data Corporation, it no longer exists in that form anymore. It has evolved. It got absorbed by some other company. And they made these supercomputers, these large mainframe computers, Cyber series. So we had one of those. And this is what it looked like. So this entire room is a computer. This lady here, she is changing tapes. These are storage tapes. And this is what it looked like in 1986. There is another gentleman or person back there performing some other tasks. So there was a staff who looked after this computer. And the way we interacted with this was through what is called a dumb terminal. This is what a dumb terminal looks like or looked like. This picture is from around 1984, but what we had at that time in 1989 was very similar. A screen, a monochrome screen, with only green letters and a keyboard. And this thing did not have any computing power itself. This was a monitor and a keyboard that was connected to the main computer. And there were 100 or more of these typically that would connect to a mainframe computer, to this thing here. So basically this allowed you to do certain kinds of tasks, certain types of programming. So you could write, just to give you an example, in your first year computer science introduction course, you would write small programs like how to arrange a given set of numbers in increasing or decreasing order, take input from the user on the screen and then do it. Stuff like that. All this could be done. There was no graphics. You did not have to, there was no mouse even attached to this. So this is what we used to use. And if those of you who are curious, you can look up what mainframe computers in the late 80s, what kind of computing power they had, what kind of storage capacities they had, what kind of RAM, all those things. Look it up. And you will find that today, barely 30 years down the road, you carry more computing power in your pocket A cheap mobile phone, an inexpensive one, is more powerful than all of this put together. So that's the kind of advancement the field of computing has made, and there is no telling what is yet to come. Perhaps some of you have heard of Moore's Law. The founder of Intel, Gordon Moore, he said about 45 or so years ago that every 18 months, the computing power is going to double. The CPUs, what they can do, it will double, and the price will halve itself. So basically, every 18 months, double the computing power, half the price. And you compound it over all these years, and that's where we are today. That's how our smartphones are more potent. They do a lot more than this mainframe computer could do. So why am I telling this story? The reason I'm telling you is there was more to it. There's more to it than just the increase in computing power. What about the access? So the campus there, where ours was a residential university. On campus, there were about 3,000 students, and there was one mainframe computer, and each department had a few computers. They had what they call the computer lab with 2 or 3 computers, and very often there were a few terminals connected to the same mainframe from each department. So there were like perhaps a couple of hundred, 200-300 available for students. 3,000 students. And in the first year alone, there were, the need was so great that the way it was organized was we were divided into different groups, and each group would get access for 1 hour in the week. 1 hour is all of computing time. You would go to that computer center where the mainframe was housed, given on your slot. So let's say my slot, if I remember right, was somewhere around 3 in the morning, and for 1 hour. So you would go there and you had 1 hour. So basically you wrote your programs first on paper. So you go there and you just type and hope that, everything runs. That was the deal. So I remember the very first time I went to this computer center, I go there and I run into something that looked like, I log on and I see this on the screen, a prompt like this. And I had no idea what that meant. And I was just baffled. What am I supposed to do now? In fact, what had happened was there was a glitch. Every one of the new students was supposed to get a menu to do things. So for example, a menu of something like 8 items. Edit a file. So you could create a new file or edit an existing one. And then in the editor, there was another menu which allowed you to do things like save the file, etc. And then there was another, in the main menu, there was an item to compile. In those days, you had to compile a program, then you had to execute it. So all of those things, I had nothing. And then what was expected was that I would type commands equivalent to all those menu items. So all the other students around me, most of them got the menu and they were working, and I was just sitting there looking at NOSVE. Later on, I learned that NOS is Network Operating System, and VE is Virtual Environment. So this was a proprietary operating system of the company CDC Corporation that built that mainframe computer. So basically, I was sitting there not knowing what to do. And then there was a senior student, a 4th-year student, who was working on his final project, who needed a terminal. See, there was a scarcity of the available terminals. So he's watching me just sitting there, and he comes to me and says, "Hey, how about I help you? And then you'll get your work done, you'll be out of here, and then I can use this terminal." I said, "Sure thing, that's a good deal." So he started teaching me commands. So for example, to edit a file, the command was edif. So the first 3 letters of the first word, edit, and then the first letter of the next word, edit file. Similarly, there was comf to compile a file, and exef to execute a file, and loads of other files. There was display catalog. Catalog was their term for what was in the folder. So all these things I learned, and I was really fascinated. In fact, that missing menu, the menu that was not there, showed me what goes on behind the scenes rather than being limited by the menu. So being thrown in the deep end what jogged my curiosity about this entire field of computing, and I was hooked from that day on. And what you are doing now is you are going behind the scenes. Right now on your phone, you're limited to doing whatever those apps allow you to do, which are on your phone. They're like your menu. But you are now learning how to add new items to that menu. That is going to be your task, your journey. Anyhow, this is what I learned. And there is one, one funny aspect of this that I think I should share. In those days, our campus was, even today, the campus is right next to a national park, which is home to lots of large animals, predators, included panthers, leopards. So there had been a leopard sighting on campus around that time. So all the students, we were advised that when you go to the computer lab, computer center at 3 in the morning, 2 in the morning, whatever it may be, don't go alone. You don't want to run into a leopard. So it make small groups and then all go. And fortunately, there was nothing, nobody was harmed. And I suppose the leopard eventually went back to its home. So in a live class, I would open this up for a little bit of discussion and ask people if there are any morals to this story. And typically the answers that come out would be like, having a challenge, being what the term I use, being thrown in the deep end can have its own benefit. There were funny perspective also that it's possible to survive a leopard, a campus where there are leopards crawling around. So anyhow, this is an introduction to where I come from, and hopefully I can share some other stories along as we move along the course. I know everyone likes a good story. So I will stop this video here. No, actually, hang on. I said I would like to know a little bit about you. So in your course shell, you will see a place for discussion forums. And I would like each one of you, to make a post there, create a new thread about you, and tell us, me and the rest of your fellow students, tell us your name, obviously, and what kind of background, software development experience you bring into the course. A couple of other things, if you would like to mention. One is an aspect of computer programming or a language you like or would like to master. And anything else, any fact about yourself, interesting, boring, however you look at it, don't judge it, just share with us. And so that we get to know, each of us gets to know you a little bit better and perhaps provide for a better experience. So let's stop here and we'll move on to the next module in another video.